All right, so Donald Trump has been absolutely losing his goddamn mind over on Truth Social over the last couple of days in the wake of some revelations that we got from Mark Zuckerberg, who made an appearance on Joe Rogan's podcast and basically just admitted that Facebook, along with Twitter and other social media platforms, that they did in fact suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story. And not only that, but apparently the FBI had essentially directed them to do that, or at least generally told them to be on the lookout for potential Russian disinformation stories that were about to drop. So I'll get to my take on that in and of itself, the fact that the FBI was telling these social media platforms what to censor. So before we get into that, I want to just read out this absolutely beautiful truth, I guess is what you call it, here from Donald Trump. So I'm going to do my best Donald Trump impression here. So he says, "So now it comes out conclusively that the FBI buried the Hunter Biden laptop story before the election, knowing that, if they didn't, President Trump would have easily won the 2020 presidential election. This is massive fraud and election interference at a level never before seen in our country. Remedy, declare the rightful winner, and, or, this would be the minimal solution, declare the 2020 election irreparably compromised and have a new election immediately." Okay, so apologize for that impression there, but yeah, I mean, this is what he had to say. I mean, just complete freak shit, right? I mean, he's still talking about the 2020 election, right? We're having conversations right now about when exactly Donald Trump is going to declare for the 2024 election, and this motherfucker is still focused on the 2020 election, which 100%, obviously, I don't need to tell you guys this, but was not stolen. It was a completely legitimate election, and Donald Trump obviously lost his mind and, decided to go on this entire crusade insinuating that it had somehow been stolen by Venezuela or Dominion voting systems or a coordinated global socialist plot or whatever the fuck. And basically he's still hammering this home, even though we still know that the polling data on this, even among Republican voters, basically shows that they want him to shut the fuck up about the 2020 election and actually focus on things that are materially affecting people's lives. But he just cannot help himself, and so we get just absolutely amazing tweets, or not tweets, truths, I guess, from Donald Trump. But let's go ahead and try to break this down a little bit. So he says, so it came out that the FBI helped to bury the Hunter Biden laptop story before the election. Okay, in and of itself, that I think is a massive problem, right? We should not have federal agencies, let alone the FBI, going around and telling social media platforms to censor certain stories. I mean, that in and of itself is obviously, something that should be condemned. But what it comes down to is whether or not the story was correct, right? And so there is a criticism there of Hunter Biden. He's obviously massively corrupt. He obviously tried to profit off of his dad's name. The degree to which Joe Biden was directly involved in that, I don't really know. I think all of these motherfuckers, all of these politicians are corrupt anyways, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump or Obama or Biden, they're all fucking corrupt, okay? That should not be a surprise to anybody in any way, shape, or form. But, in terms of the FBI stepping in to push these social media platforms and have a direct influence in what the American people are able to see, that's completely unacceptable, right? Even if this story was inaccurate, or even if it was Russian disinformation or something like that, the FBI should not get to determine what the American people are able to see, right? And especially considering that a lot of the stuff that was surrounding the Hunter Biden laptop story did end up being at least somewhat or partially accurate. Yeah, the American people deserved to have that information at their disposal. Now, whether or not that would have led to, Donald Trump easily winning the 2020 presidential election, no. I mean, that's kind of fucking ridiculous, man. I mean, you think that's what the American people were thinking about? That's why millions of people decided to vote you out of office? No, it had much more to do with your, horrific authoritarian tendencies, your completely failed and botched response to the COVID pandemic, as well as the economic crash that was happening at the time. I mean, so many different reasons and variables that you could point to in terms of why Donald Trump actually lost that election. But one of those variables, or one of the top 10 variables in that equation, is not the fucking Hunter Biden laptop story. I mean, even if that had been covered by the mainstream media, I don't think that it would have been that big of a deal. And anyways, I mean, this is a guy, Hunter Biden, who, yeah, I mean, he might have been personally corrupt and profiting off of his dad's name, but is that really relevant to the election? Is that relevant to Joe Biden personally, unless you have actual verified information that Joe Biden was coordinating and also profiting off of these ventures that Hunter Biden was doing? I don't know. I just don't think that it's that, big of a deal, or that it would have been this monumental, game-changing story that would have broke and swung the election for Donald Trump. So on that front, I think that's completely delusional, but he continued saying that this is a massive fraud and election interference. Okay, fraud and election interference, all right, at a level never before seen in our country. This part is also kind of funny because, listen, I'm not going to defend Hillary Clinton in any way, shape, or form, but this is sort of similar to what happened to Hillary Clinton before the 2016 election, right? You had James Comey, who came out and basically announced that, they were giving this investigation over to the Department of Justice in terms of Hillary Clinton's emails and the servers, and the fact that there was classified information on her private servers. All of that came out directly before the election, right? There was a lot of criticism towards James Comey for basically doing this, and people thought that it was happening for political reasons, right? And I think that story definitely hurt Hillary Clinton more than the Hunter Biden laptop story would have hurt Joe Biden. I don't even think that those are like even directly comparable, especially considering that Hillary Clinton was directly involved in that entire situation that went on. So they're kind of two different things in a lot of ways, but also they're kind of similar. And if the point that you're making is that the feds or that the U.S. Government agencies shouldn't come out and have influence over the election by either suppressing or by putting out different stories that could harm political candidates, then why weren't you saying this in 2016? Of course you wouldn't have said that, and of course that's at least partially one of the reasons why you ended up in the White House in the first place. So it's kind of funny that he's saying like this is something that has never been seen in the history of our country. Well, it just happened. In fact, that was one of the main reasons why you ended up becoming the president. Now, obviously, I think that Hillary Clinton ran an absolutely horrible campaign, and she was not relatable to voters, and Donald Trump ran a somewhat effective populist campaign, and all of his bullshit messaging and rhetoric surrounding that. So there's a lot of reasons why Hillary Clinton lost. I don't think that that was like the main reason, but it definitely played more of a factor in terms of her losing than it would have towards hurting Joe Biden's chances in challenging Donald Trump, because that just wasn't what people were worrying about during the 2020 election. They were worrying about the economy, they were worrying about getting COVID under control, etc. So I think that that's just, completely hypocritical and ridiculous there. But now we get to the best part, right? He is literally saying that he should, the remedy to this situation is that they should declare the rightful winner, or, and this would be the minimal solution, declare the 2020 election irreparably compromised and have a new election immediately. Okay, so first of all, obviously, there is no even theoretical or hypothetical potential pathway towards doing something like this, right? There's no precedent for that. There's no ability to relaunch the 2020 election 2 years into Biden's administration. But obviously, on top of that, all of these various allegations of fraud that Donald Trump was, putting out there after he lost the election, all of this has just been completely bullshit. And so the idea that like you are going to have another election, you're going to hold another election, or I guess in his mind, install him directly into the White House directly right now, I mean, just completely fucking ridiculous. This man is out of his goddamn mind. And, I think at the end of the day, the best part about this is that, this is something that is going to continue hurting Donald Trump, right? I hope that he continues focusing on the 2020 election and trying to rehash that, because again, we know the polling data on this is showing that people don't want him to talk about that anymore. They want him to shut the fuck up, even within Republican and conservative circles. So, I mean, go ahead for it. I mean, keep focusing on this, keep, railing about the 2020 election, keep talking about, Hunter Biden's laptop and whatever the fuck. I personally think that that is not going to be an effective strategy for you winning in 2024, not even to mention or to get into the possibility of you retaking office during Joe Biden's administration or something like that. This is only going to be something that continues to hurt Donald Trump's political standing with the American people and even with conservative coalitions within this country. So, I mean, listen, he's losing his goddamn mind. He's out here on Truth Social. There was another, I guess I'll pull this up as well. There was another montage here put together by Aaron Rupar of all of the different various memes that he was posting yesterday or over the last couple of days, just absolutely losing his mind, pissing and shitting his pants over the idea that, this Hunter Biden laptop story somehow crushed his chances of winning the presidency. It's just 100% delusional, but, nothing to be too surprised there by with Donald Trump. I mean, he's just going to continue focusing on this. Some right-wing freak shows like Alex Jones are going to continue talking about this and rehashing the 2020 election. And at the end of the day, he's obviously not going to be reinstalled in the White House. There's not going to be a redo of the 2020 election, and he's just going to continue shooting himself in the foot and damaging any potential chance that he actually has at legitimately retaking the White House.